Now, we've had ourselves a string of wins, right? There's a reason why we're a warlike society. But I think it's good that we had a Vietnam, and we need to reflect on why a Vietnam had happened. We need to have, at least one or two Vietnams. We've the War of 1812, Lebanon. What else was there? Wasn't there some battle in the Mediterranean? So we only got a couple of losses. Some Native American battles, the Battle of St. Clair and the Battle of Wabash. The Battle of the Wabash. St. Clair and Hamar. Josiah Hamar. Hamar's defeat. Because a lot of people will say, and even in the Vietnam era, they would say, my country, right or wrong. My country, right or wrong. No, rock, flag, and eagle. I could get behind rock, flag, and eagle, but get behind the flag no matter what crimes that flag is committing, I think that's horse shit. Fuck the My Lai massacre. Fuck the Vietnam War. Fuck the Vietnam War. So we should reflect. 4 million Vietnamese people got killed. 75,000 Americans got killed. And what were we doing over there? Well, we didn't want them feeding their own poor. They were communist, and communists have a different economic system than capitalists, and communists want to feed their own poor. And we just didn't want that to happen. What? You're going to feed your own poor like Jesus? No, we hate the people. We worship Jesus, but we don't actually do the actions of Jesus. That pisses us off. Man, remember when Jesus spread the fish and the bread to the multitude? He only had 5 loaves of bread and 3 fish, but he was able to feed thousands of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people who would go to hear him speak at a rock concert because he had microphones and good sound system. Separately, the Marines and the Corps Tactical Zone, I created the Combined Action Platoon program. So fuck the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War goes through 4 or 5 different presidents. I think it was Truman. Motherfucking Truman's the one that fucking started that goddamn shit. Now, there is something to be said about the Bolsheviks. Fuck the Bolsheviks. But the idea of communism and that we're all in this thing together, all for one, one for all, to experience a sense of solidarity. We all stood up and we fought the good fight and we won or we lost. But we all did it together. Solidarity. So I guess that could just be as silly as nationalism. So some people say my country right or wrong. I'm the opposite. I say right and correct and proper. You stay good, you stay right, you stay correct. You come correct, you stay correct, you go correct. And you're just correct all the way. Correct, correct, correct. And if your country is wrong, then you pull your country to the good side. Sorry, you've fallen to the dark side. You need to get to the Black Power revolution side. It is time for white America to have themselves a black revolution. Why do we even use the words white, black? You got mahogany and you got peach and you have basically all the other colors in the rainbow except for white and black. Why not? Why don't we describe ourselves exactly as precisely as our colors are? Crayola, didn't they have like 100 and something damn colors in the box? We act like we only know 3 colors. And that's purple, and that's red, and that's white, and that's black. That's not white and that's not black. What are you talking about? I don't know. Seems to be a social construction, an arbitrary social construction. It came back from the days of slavery in America. Oh, yeah. Huh. So just by designating people white and black, that actually reinforces racist notions. No shit. Where were you going with this? The CAPS program. So fuck Vietnam. Just basically saying fuck the Vietnam War. Fuck the Vietnam War. Fuck the Vietnam War. Went on for 25 years. It was hard as hell to get out. Everybody's such a fucking dick about it. And then They cut the purse strings. Gerald Ford is going to pull us out of Vietnam. And they did it it was the Democrats that cut the purse strings. So it was right after Nixon just resigned. And so the Republicans are looking like a bunch of assholes. But Nixon actually started the peace process. People are talking about Ukraine and negotiations. They're just talking about capitulation. Fuck capitulation. We don't need capitulation with Ukraine. We do need some peace talks. Because when Kissinger said, okay, we got to get a peace talk, well, you had to get the person to the person that had the back channel to the fucking guy. And if you're able to get the person to the person that's got the back channel to the fucking guy, well, then hell, you might be able to bomb the fucking guy, right? So peace talks are dangerous. Cornstalk, the Shawnee warrior, the Shawnee chief, Cornstalk was killed by the Americans, and so was Maluntha during so-called peace talks. And George Washington pretended to be a peace convoy when he attacked the French in the middle of the Ohio to start the French and Indian War. So, combined action platoons. Fucking Reagan putting Marines in Lebanon was a mistake. War of 1812. I think it was a mistake. In Vietnam and Korea, the Combined Action Programs of the United States Marine Corps counterinsurgency tools during the Vietnam War. Counterinsurgency. We invaded Vietnam, so you should expect people to resist. It was widely remembered by the Marine Corps as effective, operating from 1965 to 1974. And this is one good thing about the Vietnam War. The Combined Action Program. It operated from 65 to 71 and placed a 13-member Marine rifle squad augmented by a U.S. Navy corpsman, strengthened by a Vietnamese militia platoon of older youth and elderly men in or adjacent to a rural Vietnamese hamlet. In or adjacent to a rural Vietnamese hamlet, you got a council of elders, a council of youngers, and then you have the U.S. Navy corpsmen. So you have 13 Marine Rifle Squad, 1 Navy corpsman, Vietnamese militia platoon. It's fantastic. And then they're by a hamlet. So they're actually protecting the people. They're winning hearts and minds in Vietnam. In most cases, the Popular Forces militia members, Nghia Quan, were residents of Afghanistan. We lost Afghanistan. Were residents of the hamlet who were either too young or too old. And I don't know if we lost it. In a way, if we occupy them infinitely, we're wasting treasure. The empire can't go on forever into infinity. It makes sense to kind of scale back a bit, scale back as much as possible, but it's also important to understand real politics. And we got 900 military bases around the world. We're the premier empire, and if shit gets fucking out of hand, we will be expected to get shit back in order. And if not, then people are going to rebel against us. They will be, what the fuck why do you have all these military bases around us when shit was going, when everything was going to hell, when everything was going to shit, you didn't do anything for us. We're going to get the worst kind of blowback in the fucking world. So, in most cases, the Popular Forces militia members, Nghia Quan, were residents of the hamlet who are either too young or too old to be drafted into the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, ARVN, or the Regional Forces, Dia Phuong Quan. The entire unit of American Marines and Popular Forces militia members together was designated as a Combined Action Platoon. So, I don't like a lot of these terminologies. Counterinsurgency. I'm against war, but revolutionary war. So, the rule is, don't hit, don't rape, don't murder, don't war, don't mass murder. That's right, that's war. That's the rule. Now the exception is revolutions. Revolutions is when the oppression is too much and then the dam breaks. The apple cart has to be overturned because there's too many apple carts. You need to start selling oranges. The entire unit of American Marines and Popular Forces militia members together is designated as a Combined Action Platoon. So this is actually fucking brilliant. This is actually America doing good shit for another country. Instead of just saying, oh, well, our politics are superior and we know what's going on, so we get to police your country. Just trust us. That's not good enough. But if you go in there with a combined action program, you go in there saying, okay, we got some of the Vietnamese folks who's with our brigade, and we're either in the hamlet or just adjacent to it. So we're protecting the people. And then not only are you protecting the people, and you've also recruited some of the people, the biggest thing was the civic and health projects. They were building infrastructure, living side by side with the villagers, squads of Marines, about 12 men or fewer. So just a dozen, right? A dozen Marines per hamlet, instead of having My Lai massacres and raping Nankings and a bunch of Gilles de Race fucking shit. You're winning hearts and minds. You're winning hearts and minds by being actually good fucking people. You got a dozen men living next to the community, and they're building local civic and health projects. Civic and health projects. Building houses, fucking buildings and shit. Health products with shots, fucking vaccines. I don't know exactly. But the big thing with Vietnam was you kept getting the general, and you gotta blame the president for that, so that's fucking LBJ, right? And Nixon and Kennedy. It was hard for Kissinger to get that peace talk. So it's not easy to just get a fucking peace deal. A peace deal had to be in the fucking works for a while, and it has to be something that everybody could be agreeable to. I can't cede any territory of Ukraine. I want to take like an extra mile of fucking Russia. I want to take Siberia. I don't want to give any part of Ukraine up. Unless they have like fucking 20,000 years of Russian control, which they don't. And Russia began from Swedish Vikings. So Sweden should just come in and take over. So it's hard to get a peace deal. So we should have some kind of negotiations in the work and see what they're talking about and see if there's something that's, see if there's some room for something. So with this book here, Vietnam War Graphic History by Zimmerman and Van Sant. It's a graphic novel. Here's Westmoreland. What they're sitting there saying about Westmoreland and this CAPS program is that Westmoreland just want to seek and destroy, right? Shock and awe, search and destroy. Just bomb, aerial bombardment. Just carpet bombing. That's what Westmoreland want to fucking do in Vietnam. That's why we killed 4 million Vietnamese. But right now they have a Baskin Robbins in, was it Shanghai? Hanoi? They got corporations over there. So I don't, bombing, there was a war of attrition. The more that we killed, well, at least we did something. We killed 1 million of them, so that we won. And then some people talked to a couple Vietnam vets who didn't feel bad about it and actually felt like it was America's fault because we didn't have the will and we didn't want to go all the way and just wipe them all out. A genocide? How can you say you were fighting and defending for the Vietnamese people when you committed a genocide? Now you went the wrong direction. What we should have done is these combined action platoons, and then that should have been the capital. Like have about fucking 15 to 30 of these combined action platoons all over the place. And those are the headquarters. Those are the capitals. If you're not defending the Vietnamese people, if you don't have Vietnamese soldiers in your ranks, then you're the fucking invader. You're the goddamn occupier. You're the fucking bad guy. You're the bad guy. You're in their country. But if you had the combined action platoon, they say it's counterinsurgency. I don't even know. I guess in a way, that does pacify the people if you give them waterworks and houses and post offices and libraries. We're really going to trick them. How? Well, we're going to build them schools and orphanages and hospitals, good roads, good government buildings. We're going to show them. And these programs, the infrastructure, the shit lasted beyond once we left. It was still there. The buildings and the projects that they had worked, the water projects or whatever. I'm not sure the extent of it. But that's how you win hearts and minds. That's how you win hearts and minds. So the Vietnam War is pretty much all fucking bunk, bunch of bullshit, bunch of fucking dick measuring fucking pissing contest bullshit. The program is said to have originated as a solution to one Marine Infantry Battalion's problem of expanding tactical area of responsibility. The concept of combining a squad of Marines with local PFs, assigning them a village to protect, proved to be a force multiplier. Yeah, it would be. See Americans actually doing good American shit. We see what, we watch the TV and the movies, and we see your entertainment artist. You got a lot of wealth. You got nice clothes, and you seem pretty confident. You seem like you're very pretty people. So when Americans started doing good shit, it was a force multiplier, meaning that more and more people was being recruited. We were winning hearts and minds. When the exact implementation varied with the stage of the war, local command variations, the basic model was to combine a Marine squad with local forces to form a village defense platoon. It was effective in denying the enemy a sanctuary at the local village level. True, but it also won hearts and minds. It also made it sure that the Americans were not the enemy. We're not just here to murder and destroy everything that you hold dear. We're not going to rape your family and your house and your lives and your community and your water. Destroy the infrastructure. We're going to build infrastructure. The pacification campaign seemed to work under the CAP concept, and the Marines fully embraced it. Objectively, there's no solid proof that the CAP concept was a resounding success. However, subjectively, the evidence suggests otherwise. What? Counterinsurgency operations, and in particular the establishment of a foreign internal defense, lends itself for the greatest utility of employing a CAP-style organization. Recent operations in Somalia, Haiti, and Bosnia suggest a CAP-style organization could accomplish the assigned mission. In Iraq and Afghanistan, the Marines reinstituted a variant of CAP. A variant. So I think the CAP thing is, if we're not doing CAP, is the only thing we should be doing. If we're not doing CAP things, then it's what the fuck. And I'd like to think that we're building waterways and food, whatever. We're like helping the ground and long-term shit, infrastructure. Initial motivation and organization, initial structure. Let's just see if it says something about Rovin CAP of 1968. Rovin CAPs had no fixed village. I don't know if I like they rotated amongst 2 or 3 more villages. Oh, that's not too bad. Spent the night in the field. I love that. That's better. Now you're protecting 2 to 3 more villages. They're very mobile as opposed to the original static concept. Let's see, comparison with non-marine programs. It was one of the several programs during the Vietnam War where U.S. personnel worked as a team with a local defense group. The main difference between the Marine CAP and the Army programs was that the Marine program was a hearts and minds civic action program seeking to gain the trust and friendship of the Vietnamese they lived and worked with through a combination of military training and civic action projects, while the Special Forces Civilian Irregular Defense Group, CIDG, combined village defense units with mobile strike forces of mercenary light infantry. So, I like it. I like the concept. I like the idea. And if you're not doing these combined action programs, I don't even know what you would, just winning hearts and minds. Being good to the country we're occupying. Another thing the Roman Empire did was that they would offer citizenship. We got 14 colonies. We don't need to dominate over anything. Just make them states and make them Americans. You think people, how would you feel if you were being occupied by, and they'll call you a national, but not a full-blown American? Puerto Rico, they're Americans. Samoa are Americans. Samoa, Puerto Ricans, Guam. So, yeah. America, let's do these combined action programs. The Marine Corps, let's do combined, Army, Navy, everybody should be doing these combined action programs. We should do combined action programs here in America too. Imagine if we had, the Marines going from town to town and working on water projects and bridge projects and road projects and internet projects, water, food projects, basically building up the community. We're going to need food and water for a long time. So we're going to need to, have some meat, some vegetables and fruits. We're going to need to plant. We're going to need to have a lot of stuff, right? Waterways and sewers and electric lines. Of all of our innovations in Vietnam, none was as successful, as lasting in effect, or as useful for the future as the Combined Action Program. The effectiveness. Combined Action was, at least in some areas, a successful program in both military and civic action terms. Perhaps one of the few successful programs of that war, relatively cheap to operate, caps seldom used costly, supporting arms fire, had a high kill ratio relative to the size of the unit, according to the late Lieutenant Colonel James H. Champion. In April and May 1969, the first CAG killed 440 VC or NVA, and the first CAG was killing more NVA than the entire 101st Airborne Division. The first CAG had about 400 Marines and sailors at the time. Elsewhere in his article, he states from 66 until 69, they, CAP NCOs, led small units which killed over 4,400 VC NVA. Because there's a high body count. I don't know if that's what I was looking for. They're often popular in the villages they worked in, succeeded in denying them to the VC. Right. You treat people good, and then the enemies, that's what the communists could just say. The Americans are just killing you. They don't give a shit about you. But if you have running water and you got all these buildings and houses that they had just an internet, you got high-speed internet, I think that actually probably would save the world if America just went around spreading high-speed internet to everybody. Just stay in your houses and just watch YouTube. Everybody just calm down, okay? Go to your room. Of the 209 villages protected by CAP units, not one ever reverted to VC control. Look how successful it was. Americans treated others the way they wanted to be treated. They employed the golden rule. And the villages loved it. Of the 209 villages protected by CAP units, it'd be interesting to see how those villages are doing today and see if any of the infrastructure projects had lasted. Of all the data compiled, subjective or objective, this one undeniable achievement remains as an example of success unparalleled in the war. Just by their presence, CAP units were able to establish RVN primacy, served as one fact that VC propaganda cannot explain away. CAP Marines are often fondly remembered and have been well received by their former villages when they revisited Vietnam. Indeed, some have gone back there to work, doing much the same civic action that won their friendship originally. Harold P. Ford had some insights into Robert McNamara's evaluation of the situation in Vietnam. The large unit operations war, which we know best how to fight and where we have had our successes, is largely irrelevant to pacification. As long as we do not have a success in pacification, depends on the interrelated functions of providing physical security, destroying the VC apparatus, motivating the people to cooperate, and establishing responsive local government. General William C. Westmoreland, Commanding General Military Assistance Command Vietnam, was not an advocate of pacification programs. He believed in large unit land warfare and was trying to stage a full-scale land battle with the NVA that would ostensibly break them for once and all. Nonetheless, he wrote in his memoirs that the Combined Action Program was one of the more ingenious innovations developed in South Vietnam. According to Peter Brush, civic action had promised, had it been adopted on a wide scale, the war would have been much different. But it's a matter of speculation as to whether it would have ultimately affected the outcome. It would have affected the outcome. We would have been the good guys. Why? We gave you water projects. We're building the houses. We built you a hospital. Did you have a hospital beforehand? Did you have internet beforehand? Did you have a house beforehand? Did you have running water? Do you have crops? And do you have, give them a cow. Give everybody a cow. A chicken in every pot? No, a cow in everybody's field. Give everybody a plot of ground. Do some land reform. Give everybody a plot of ground. Civic action. Go there and find out what they need. Keep the good things. Keep what's working. And throw out the crap. And start the stuff that they need. Had it been adopted on a wide scale, the war would have been different. I think so. Other writers include Major Edward Palm, who was once a Cap Marine, thought otherwise. I'd like to believe with some that combined action was the best thing we did. In my experience, combined action was merely one more untenable article of faith. The truth, I suspect, is that where it seemed to work, combined action wasn't really needed, and where it was, combined action could never work. Okay, so that was a terrible ending, but of course you're going to have your detractors, and he didn't really say why. Bing West, he served in the combined action platoon. Good old Bing West, Francis J. Bing West Jr. He's an American author, Marine combat veteran, former Assistant Secretary of Defense for the International Security Affairs during the Reagan administration. What? Small unit action in Vietnam for the U.S. Marine Corps. He wrote the training manual, Small Unit Action in Vietnam. That's who Bing West is. He was a Cap guy. He did some Cap stuff. And we're going to talk about his Cap career. No, just his writing. Oh, and then he was in Vietnam for a while. And then he did all this, wrote a book and stuff. He was an infantry officer in the Marine Corps during the Vietnam War. He led the mortar platoon of the 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines. He served as a combined action platoon that fought for 485 days in a remote village. Nice, for over a year. He was also a member of the Marine Force, so I'd like to hear what he has to say. Did it work? I know ultimately we lost, so when I look back, that's another thing. We lost. But can we look back and say, well, we built houses, we built hospitals, we built orphanage, we built libraries, we built nice roads. They have nice sidewalks. We give them paved sidewalks, paved roads, good sewage, good electric lines. So even if we lost, and if they have electric lines and they use the electric lines today, that's kind of a victory. I think that's actually, I don't even know, why did the Romans conquer everybody, but they got those aqueducts. I mean, they got them statues and shit, but there's aqueducts. They help people get water. So let's do more Caps kind of shit. Okay, America?